Story's told of a young boy who was wandering through his village one day, and he was drawn toward the blacksmith's forge by the glow of the fire and the ringing of the metal as the hammer was striking the iron. As he got closer and closer, he saw and was fascinated by that red-hot glow of the metal as it was coming out of the fire, the sparks that were flying as the blacksmith was beating that iron into a horseshoe. He was fascinated by the hissing sound that the metal made when he put it into the fire or to the water to quench it, and he threw it over into the corner to let it continue to cool. And so the little boy starts making his way over there into the corner to check this out. And the blacksmith's working on the next horseshoe, and he glances out the corner of his eye, and he sees this young man walking over there toward there, and he says, "I wouldn't touch that if I were you." And the little boy says, "Oh, no, sir, I'm not." Okay. So he goes back to working on his horseshoe, and then he hears that familiar sound of metal hitting the floor. And he turns around and he looks, and he sees this little boy violently shaking his hand, jumping up and down in obvious pain, and says, "Did you burn yourself?" Rhetorically. And the little boy looks up at him and very proudly says, "No, sir. It just doesn't take me long to look at a horseshoe." So this is a joke that my dad told me when I was a young man, and typically it was within the context of I was doing something stupid. I was hurting myself or I was hurting somebody else. And so my dad would ask the question, "How long does it take you to look at a horseshoe?" And so this became the running joke between us for a long time. Every time we saw somebody doing something stupid, my dad would kind of go, "Takes that guy a long time to look at a horseshoe. I wonder how long it takes him to look at a horseshoe." And so it just became this running joke between us. So fast forward for just a few years ago, and I'm kind of struggling through what I call my personal wilderness experience. Throughout that time period, I'm asking myself, that question my dad asked me keeps coming up in my mind. How long does it take you to look at a horseshoe, son? And so I started wondering, what am I doing wrong? What lesson am I not learning that I'm not experiencing the abundance that I'm supposed to be experiencing, the favor of God that I'm supposed to be experiencing? And so, I'm holding on tight to Jeremiah 29:11. I know the Lord's got a plan for me, a plan to prosper me and not harm me, to give me a hope in the future. And I'm holding on tight to that, but I'm not seeing the plan. I can't see what's going on. So finally, one day in desperation, I said, "Okay, Lord, when?" And then everything changed. Don't ever ask God a question if you don't want the answer. You're not ready for the answer. And so the answer I got back, I'm going to paraphrase, keep this story a little shorter, was, "When you're ready." You see, I didn't have the life infrastructure in place to handle the God-sized dream, the plan that He had for me, the purpose He had for me, that God-sized dream. I couldn't support it. And so God, loving God, said, "I'm not going to give you something that I know was going to hurt you, so you got to work on you. You got to figure out, be ready for this, be able to handle this." So I said, okay. So I started working on what ultimately became the model, the infrastructure that is at the heart of the Sword of Leadership. But I want to leave you with this parting thought. Back to my dad's original question. How long does it take you to look at a horseshoe? Are there horseshoes in your life that you have not let go of, that you need to let go of? Are there horseshoes in your life that are hurting you, hurting others? Are there horseshoes in your life that come from your understanding of leadership because you're buying into the lies of the world? See, leadership isn't about position, title, hierarchy, wire diagrams, position descriptions. All those things are important for getting things done, but they can't be the focus. They can't be the emphasis. You need to be transformational over transactional. You need to be covenantal over contractual. You need to be Spirit-led. You need to lead to serve, not to rule. And so if you want some help in letting go of those horseshoes and identifying those horseshoes, putting them down, I would encourage you to drop them. And one of the ways that you might get some insight on how to do that is by going through some of the material that's here in the book.